Hello everyone, I'm Brian and welcome back to part 2 of Who Am I? Part 2 of part 2, at least for me it is. So I'll rewind it just a little bit so we can make sure we get everything, even though it's probably not going to be everything. So let's go ahead and get started.
It says if there's a deep sleep of a mosquito, a lion, a tiger and a human being, a PhD and an illiterate person, all of them, they have exactly the same type of deep sleep. The nature of deep sleep is same for all because it's ignorance. It's complete darkness. There is no speciality, no differentiation there. Yeah.
Ignorance is the same for everyone.
We don't experience anything. It's blankness. But they are saying, that's very interesting. The common way of thinking is we don't experience anything. But they are saying, do you not experience the lack of experience? Otherwise, what is the common experience when we have after we get up? I slept like a log of wood. I did not know anything.
Can you really say that you experienced that? How do you know that you experienced that? You don't. You assume that you did though, right? I mean, you're ignorant of the fact. I mean, for all you know, you maybe had a terrible sleep like I do, but still experienced nothing. That was weird. Why did I just black out like that? But I still experienced nothing. So yeah, I mean,
Sukham aham aswapsam na kinchid avedisham. I did not know anything. Now, you would not say that. The correct feeling would be, I was dreaming, now I am awake. I feel fresh. In between, I did not know anything. What does this statement mean? And there are many arguments on this. Some say that you infer it after you see the clock. Okay, 6 hours have passed.
Yeah,
so I must have slept deeply. But it's not an inference, it's a direct experience. That's what they're pointing to. It's a very subtle thing, but what these Advaitins are telling you, you please consider that. Try to see it from their point of view. You will at least see something mysterious happening there. An experience, illumination of a blankness. There's two questions, just I'll come back to there's one gentleman there. Yes.
I wish you would repeat the question so I know what he's trying to ask. I can't hear it at all.
We don't know. But remember, here we are not even talking about those things. That is at an objective level. You see a physical body and a brain going through so many changes and you ask what the patient is reporting and try to come to a conclusion. Here, there is a subjective approach. What are you experiencing? And they are saying if you experience anything as a separate reality, it is error. And that is because of you do not know yourself as Turiya. That's all they are saying. What about near-death experiences? What about coma? Those things are to be worked out, no problem. What they would say is near-death experience or coma, those are all illumined by Turiyam. You are the consciousness there. Only thing is, here you don't think in deep sleep. There is no thought that I am sleeping. Thought again starts when you wake up. Okay.
Or dreaming, right?
No realization, exactly. There is no realization also. And he will say that. There is no realization in deep sleep also. It is complete ignorance. He says here, pragya karana baddhastu. The deep sleeper is associated with ignorance. No realization. Absolutely no realization. Yes. Yeah. Okay. I'll tell you one thing. What the Zen techniques, all of them, they try to do in all the schools. They try for an enlightenment called Satori. They call it Satori. They try to short circuit thinking. Stop the rational mind and they expect an enlightenment will burst forth. But what Advaita Vedanta does is it don't stop thinking. You are in the waking state now, hopefully. In this waking state, you reflect upon, do vichara upon, reason upon your experiences of dream and reason upon your experiences of deep sleep. Waking, dream and deep sleep, just now in the waking state, think about it, what has happened. To realize this, you don't have to go into deep sleep. In fact, you should not go into deep sleep, otherwise you cannot realize. They say realization is possible only in the waking state, through vichara. Advaita Vedanta says this.
Wonder why in the waking state only. Another person made a very an interesting comment on the first one about about, because I said that the dream state is very dependent on the waking state, and the fact that again, the dream state is dependent on the wake state, because otherwise the dream state doesn't know what to manifest, because I believe that the only thing that you ever experience in a dream state has been things that you've experienced in a wake state. So it makes me wonder if you never experienced anything, like, actually made me think about blind people who were born blind. What do they dream of? That is an interesting question, and this will answer the question to what the person in my first one commented. It said that if you live in a dream state first and then you go to the wake state, you wouldn't say that. I mean, because I said that the wake state has to happen first in order for the dream state to occur, because again, you have to experience something for your dream state to manifest something. But he was saying in the reverse, if you had the dream state, he basically said if you say in reverse where your dream state is the state that you experience first, then you wouldn't say that the wake state is dependent on the dream state. But I wanted to make a very specific answer to that, which was basically what would the dream state manifest? I mean, it is very difficult. Again, I have to really think about this, write this down. But he made a very good point that if the dream state is the first state, but I think according to him, the wake state has to be first in order to dream state. He said that in part one, and now he just says it the fact that the only way to be aware of it is in the wake state, and only in the wake state, not the dream state.
What is then closer to that would be Patanjali Yoga, where they try to attain samadhi by suppressing the modifications of the mind. But Advaita Vedanta says they do not agree. They say without any thought, if you want to exist, deep sleep is exactly without any thought. That has not led to any realization so far. Daily we are going into deep sleep. Till today we have not realized that we are Turiam. So just going into thoughtless state will not help. But here it will, by vichara it will help. Let me give you one more example that will clarify the difference between the two.
And I wonder why only the wake state though? Why not also the dream state? Because you can realize that you're in a dream state. I do remember watching some videos about how there's this things that you can put over your eyes, and whenever you go into your dream state, your rapid eye movement, that's whenever you're starting a dream, this device will kind of shine a light in your eye to awaken you just enough to realize you're in a dream, but not enough to actually wake you out of the dream, so you can do whatever you want in a dream. With that means you can have some realization in the dream, but at least according to what he's saying about a person says that you can only have it in the waker state or the waking world.
I've given this example some other time. Some very senior monk used to give this example. There's a child in a village who has not seen a movie, cinema. And nowadays, of course, you will not find such a child. You will not find such a child who has not seen a cinema. But suppose there is. And a father takes him to a city to show him a movie. And on the way, the father tells the child, "Beta, you know what is the movie? There will be a screen," which was there just now, and there will be light projected on the screen, and you can see so many pictures on the screen. पर्दे पर वो छवि दिखेगी आपको, and that is a movie. The child says, "Okay." Then they go into the cinema hall. Now imagine, here is the interesting thing. When they enter the cinema hall, the movie has already started. So when the child first sees, he already sees pictures. So some time he enjoys the movie, like all of us do. And then he asks a question to the father. "Papa, ये screen कौन सा है? Screen कहाँ है? आपने बताया था, you had said that there is a screen on which the pictures are there." He asks this question, spiritual question. We enjoy the world. After some time, after a lot of enjoyment and experience in the world, we come to Mandukya class. So it's basically asking the same question. Where is the screen? You talked about a screen. And the father says, "Hey, in front of you, सामने है. There is a screen in front of you." And the boy says, maybe some Kurukshetra war is being shown, Mahabharata or something. And he says, "Samne, so that Krishna, Arjuna, that is the screen." No. Behind them, uske piche, behind Krishna and Arjuna. Behind Krishna and Arjuna, wo jo rath hai, the chariot, that is the screen. No, uske bhi piche. Uske piche wo Kurukshetra, Yuddha Kshetra hai, wo screen hai. Usse bhi piche. अरे वो तो आकाश है, उससे भी पीछे. आकाश से पीछे मतलब कुछ नहीं है. नहीं, कुछ नहीं, ये सब कुछ है स्क्रीन. Oh, कृष्ण, अर्जुन, रथ, आकाश, कुरुक्षेत्र युद्ध, ये सब कुछ स्क्रीन है. नहीं, उस सबको छोड़ दो, निकाल के जो रहेगा वो स्क्रीन है. सबको हटा देंगे तो कुछ भी नहीं रहेगा, तो स्क्रीन कुछ भी नहीं है. This is the problem of the father. What will he point out to as a screen? Because wherever he points, there will be a picture. There will be a picture. I say, this is Turium. You will say, oh, this guy is Turium. No. The background is Turium. Now, there is only one way. One way the child will understand is when the movie stops for the interval, the pictures stop, the lights come on. Remember, when the picture stops, the lights are off, darkness. So neither the screen is seen, no pictures are seen, and hall is also, nothing is seen. That is Sushupti, deep sleep. When the lights come on, he sees the screen. He understands. He understands.
Okay.
That is Samadhi, where you stop the pictures completely and you get an intuitive realization, this is what the reality is. But what Vedanta tells you is, you don't have to stop the movie. Stopping the movie takes...
So basically, I think now I think I understand. But basically, I guess when the child walked in, he just sees the movie playing. He never sees the screen, and I guess the child's like, well, where's the screen? I just see that what's going on, the fight, whatever it is that's playing on the screen. It's like that's the screen, but it says no, that's whatever's going on. And I guess when the movie stops, then he sees the actual screen. I'm guessing that's what he's saying at that point. It's the fact that because the movie was already playing, he never saw the screen, so therefore he was not prepared to know that that's the screen, and then the movie's being projected onto it. All he saw was the fact that the movie was projected on it. Am I correct on that one?
A lot of effort. You don't have to stop the movie. Isn't it possible here, when I show you the screen and the pictures, isn't it possible to get an appreciation of what the screen is, in spite of the pictures? Remember, the little boy, when the movie starts again, he will never ask the question, what is the screen? Although the pictures are there, he knows very well what is the screen. Now the screen is completely covered with pictures, but the boy understands what is the screen. Similarly, in Advaita Vedanta, what happens is, in this waking state, when we think ourselves as Vishwa, as this body and mind, by Vichara, we try to understand and appreciate what is the background reality, what is the screen here. If you can get it right here, then you don't need Samadhi. But Samadhi is very powerful. Sri Ramakrishna says in one place, Samadhi na hole thik thik hoy na. Unless you have that experience, you will never get a firm conviction about it. So, what you realize by this may be strengthened by Samadhi, but the realization is possible here in this waking state through this process. That's what Advaita Vedanta claims. By reasoning alone, you can at least learn to appreciate that there is a background consciousness, which you are. That's the point. Let me go and finish. Let me finish these other karikas. Now we come to exactly what you are saying. There is no realization here. Number 12. Natmanam na param chaiva na satyam na pichanritam pragya kinchana samvetti turiya tat sarvadrik sada. The pragya, the deep sleeper, does not know itself as Atma, or as the pragya also. It does not know the world also. It does not know the truth that I am Turiyam. It does not know the false Anritam, the false world which is appearing, that also pragyam does not know. Na kinchana vetti. It does not know anything. That is the state of the deep sleeper. And how is Turiya different from it? Turiya tat sarvadrik sada. It always illumines everything. It is self-illumined about itself and about the world. It is like the movie hall where the lights have come on. It knows. Okay. Then 13. Dvaitasya agrahanam tulyam ubhayo pragya turyayo bija nidrayutah pragya sacha turyena vidyate. The 13th one tells you basically Dvaitam, a separate reality, error. Separate reality is not seen by the pragya and by Turiya also. The pragya does not see anything, no Dvaita. Something separate from itself does not see, just as we see in the waking state. In deep sleep, we do not see anything. Turiyam also does not see anything separate from itself. But the pragya is associated with nidra, with this one, ignorance, blankness, whereas Turiya does not have that blankness. This is the difference between pragya and Turiya. Pragya also does not see Dvaita, Turiya also does not see Dvaita. But Pragya is covered in darkness, where the Turiya illumines everything. It sees everything as itself. Swapna nidrayutau adyau pragyastat pragyah tu aswapna pragyastu swapna nidraya aswapna nidraya na nidra naiva cha swapna turiye pashyanti nishchita. Those who understand this philosophy, nishchita, those who have realized this, what do they say? Adyato Vishwa and Taijasa. This is number 14. Vishwa and Taijasa, they have swapna and nidra. They have ignorance and error. And Pragya has only nidra. Aswapna nidra has sleep without dream. That means ignorance without error. And na nidra naiva cha swapna turiye pashyanti nishchita. The turiyam has neither sleep nor dream. Sleep means ignorance and dream means error. Same point, it's being repeated. Then number 15. Anyatha grinhata swapno nidra tattvam ajanata viparyase tayokshine turiya padamashnute. Anyatha grinhato anyatha grinhata swapna. What is swapna? What is dream? Anyatha grahanam. Wrong understanding, mistake. Seeing a rope as snake, anyatha grahanam, that is a dream. I do not know the reality, I see an error. I see a dream world. Anyatha grinhata swapna. And what is nidra? Nidra does not mean snoring at night. Here nidra means tattvam ajanata, does not know the reality.
So at that point, actually I got the fact that he said that anytime there's an error in how we see something, it's a dream state. So that, and to me, that points out the reason why both the waker and the dream world are dream states, because they're both in error.
Ignorant. Nidra means ignorance and swapna means mistake. Viparyase tayokshine. When ignorance goes away, how do you remove these? How do you remove these? How do you remove the problem of the false snake? You see the snake? The rope is seen as a snake, mistaken as a snake. How do you remove that snake?
Illumination?
Clap, drive away, chase it with a stick. It will not go. It will go only when you see the rope as a rope. You see the snake that it is actually a rope. When you see the tattvam, realize the tattvam, the error also goes away. So what you have to do is remove the ignorance. How will the ignorance be removed? By knowledge. Ignorance is removed by knowledge. When ignorance goes, viparyase tayokshine, when the ignorance in these two states is reduced, is removed. How is it removed? By knowledge. Then what happens? You realize yourself as turiyam. And what about the error? When ignorance goes, error will also go. When you realize the rope as rope, the snake will automatically go away. Actually, there is no snake which will go away.
Yeah, because it's
just
a
an
rope.
error. Then number 16. Question always arises. Then how did this ignorance start? After you talk about Advaita in any class, anywhere, somebody will ask the question, okay, we are in ignorance, but how did it start? So here is look at the answer. Gaudapada Acharya knows that. 1200 years ago he has written this Karika. Anadi mayaya supto yada jiva prabudhyate ajam anidram aswapnam advaitam buddhyate tada. So there is Advaitam, it should be. This jiva, we the individual, who I'm thinking of myself as Vishwa, the waker, one in ignorance. Anadi mayaya supta. Asleep in ignorance due to maya. Since when? Anadi, beginningless. Beginningless. When did it start? No, did not start. Beginningless. And that's illogical. How can ignorance be beginningless? But actually it's not illogical. In fact, all ignorance is beginningless. Let me ask you. If I ask you, sir, do you know German? You say, no. You are ignorant about German? Yes. Since when are you ignorant about German?
Since the day that you're born, I would say. I mean, the day that you're born, the day that... I'm assuming, okay, here's my reasoning. Turiya Turiya has always been there for everything, but let me make my assumptions here. So Turiya is born the day that you're born. Your true you has always been behind you this entire time. And as you grow older, you've reduced your ignorance by learning. As a kid, you freaking put a lot of stuff in your mouth, or baby actually, and maybe even as a kid too, I don't know. But basically, ignorance, at least, I wish I could ask this to him. This is really interesting. So basically, the day that you're born ignorant. That is the start of your ignorance. Ignorance as a whole, on the other hand, well, that's actually, I wouldn't say, like, imagine if humans never existed, would there be ignorance? If there's no creatures out there with thought, should I say, would there be any ignorance? I don't think so. I don't think there would be ignorance. There's no creatures of thought, therefore no ignorance. But the second that creature is born with thought, there will be ignorance. Am I wrong? I mean, thoughts on that one, honestly. But my thought is the fact that the day that you're born ignorant. That's the start of your ignorance. Or maybe the start, no, that's the start of your ignorance. I'll just say it that way. As opposed to when you can start really thinking for yourself, that's the start of ignorance. But no, when you're born, you are born ignorant. And then you reduce that ignorance through knowledge and obtaining information through the world.
Since my birth. Oh, so before your birth you knew German? No, your ignorance about German is anadi.
Oh.
Beginningless. But it has an end.
Well, you cannot... Before you were born, you were nothing, so therefore you cannot have ignorance if you were not anything, right?
When does it end? When you take up a book on German and start learning German, a little bit of German you know, to that extent your ignorance about German goes away.
Yeah.
So, ignorance is actually anadi, beginningless. But it can end. When knowledge comes, it ends. He says, anadi maya supta. You cannot say since when we are in ignorance. Yada jiva prabudhyate. When the jiva awakens. You look at the words Buddha. From that Buddha has come. When the jiva awakens. Then what does he realize? The next word is so wonderful. He realizes, I am ajam. Ajam means unborn. Anidram, the sleepless. Does not mean insomnia.
Did you say unborn?
It means I am without sleep. Aswapnam, without dream. Now you can understand, you can immediately map it. The big fact about the physical world is the body. And it is the body which is born. He says, I am never born. Ajam, he realizes. When he wakes up, to knowledge, he realizes, I am ajam. Ajam means, I am not born. Mera janm hi nahi hai. The body is born. I am not the body. This is a funny.
Okay, so here's where now that train of thought that I had would change. I did kind of say it though, is the fact that if this consciousness has always existed, I have to really think about this one. Then only at that point, ignorance has always had a beginning, or has always existed. But yeah, again, I still don't quite understand the Turiya. I get it, but I don't get it. So I'm still trying to understand it to the fully. So when the body is born and the mind is born, is this Turiya assigned to you? Is this Turiya has always been yours and just waiting for your body to manifest?
Story about this. One of our Swamis, he had long discussions about Punarjanma, whether it's logical or illogical, whether it's possible or not possible. Then he went to an Advaitic sadhu. Then Anidram, no sleep also. Pragya, sleep means ignorance. So Anidram means not the Pragya, he is never the Pragya also. Then Aswapnam, not the Taijasa, not the dreamer also. Then what am I? Apart from them, yes, and at the same time Advaitam. Advaitam means non-dual. There is no waker, dreamer or sleeper apart from me. I am the only reality. These are appearances. It is not that there is a shopkeeper and there is a person watching the TV and there is a sleeper in the bedroom, 3 persons are there and there is one more real person. There is only one person who appears as the shopkeeper and the person watching a TV and sleeping in his bedroom. Only one person. And that is the Turiyam. You are the Turiyam.
So I think that explanation is maybe what I was trying to explain in terms of the conductor and train, because in the explanation of the train, the train station master, I can't remember what he called them, but stays in this train station but doesn't go into the trains. The trains are the different states, whereas this one he's explaining the person in different states. So it's still the same person consciously in the different states, whereas in the train example he was given was the fact that the train master or train station master was observing the trains indirectly, or indirectly, whereas the person is directly.
Next, another big question comes. After realization, Swamiji, will this world disappear? Big burst of light will be there, world will disappear, body, mind, nothing will be there. I mean, people ask, this is a silly question, but people ask, will the body live after I get to realize Brahman? Of course the body will live. Body will go on as it is. The world will also go on as it is. When you realize the sky is not blue, after that you open your eyes and look at the sky, what do you realize? What do you see? You see the sky is blue. The experience will continue to be the same, but your understanding will be completely different.
That's actually a really good
understanding and your realization, your feeling about it will be completely different.
Because yes, I mean, that's actually a really good answer to whether something will continue to exist, especially when you have to come to realization. Because yes, the sky is in fact not blue, but yet when you look up there, it's still blue, even though you realize it's not blue. Wow.
That's the point he's making now. Very interesting verse. Will the world go away after realization? What does he say? Prapancho yadi vidyeta nivarteta na samshaya maya matram idam dvaitam advaitam paramarthata. Beautiful verse. You know what he says? He is being humorous here. Will the world go away when I realize Brahman? My body, mind, everything will go away. I will be light, Turiyam. He says, if the world was there, then the question of it staying or going away would have come. There is no such world at all. Will the snake run away after I realize it is a rope? The correct answer is, there is no snake to run away at all. No snake will go away. What snake is there? Will the snake die when I realize it is a rope? No. Why not? It will still remain. It will neither remain nor will it die. Because there is no snake. If there was a snake, the question of its going away would have come. When you realize it is a rope, will you say, will the wildlife people say there is now one less snake in the world? No. Number of snakes is still the same, because that snake was not there at all. Prapancho yadi vidyeta. If the world existed, nivarteta na samshaya, no doubt it would have gone away. But the world does not exist. So what happens? Maya matram idam sarvam. It is an error. Just like the snake was an error, it is an error. Maya matram idam sarvam advaitam paramarthata. It is one undivided reality. Advaitam, non-dual reality. You are all this. There is no world separate from you which has to be driven away. But will this all exist? You exist. This will continue to appear. Earlier it was appearing as something apart from you. Now with no doubt at all, you know you are one with everything. This is what will happen. Then this question, a gentleman you asked yesterday. Who knows then? Who learns all this? If I am Turiyam, then who is listening to all this? Who is in error? Who will get realization? So the last verse here. Vikalpo vinivarteta kalpito yadi kenachit upadeshad ayam vado jnate dvaitam na vidyate. He says, all these differences would disappear, just like the earlier verse. All these differences, Guru Shishya, knower and known, I am the Ajnani who has realized now Turiyam. These differences would disappear if these differences were there to begin with. He says, Upadeshad ayam vada. All these distinctions have been set forth by the Upanishad for purposes of instruction. Because we feel it this way, Upanishad says, okay, you are Shishya, here is the Guru, here is Mandukya, read it, get realization. After that, what happens? Today in the verse we saw Nirvana Shatakam. Na Gurur na Shishyam, na Mata na Janma na Bandhur na Mitram, na Gurur na Shishyam, Chidananda Rupaha Shivoham Shivoham. Oneness comes then. The Guru of Janaka Raja, he told him, I will give you Advaita Jnana, but first give me Guru Dakshina. Why? Because after Advaita Jnana, there will be no Guru and Shishya. You will not give me Guru Dakshina. So first you give me Guru Dakshina, then I will give you Advaita Jnana. This is joking. But the point is, these distinctions, they will continue to appear, but you know in reality there is no separate knower and known, no separate guru and shishya. To give a even deeper analysis, your question is not wrong. If you see this philosophy, that question is a fundamental question then. Who is the knower in this case? In the 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, in the Shankara Bhashya, there, after a long discussion, the Purva Paksha asks this question. Who realizes this? Who gets mukti? Turyam is the only reality. Turyam is ever free. So who gets mukti? Who realizes this truth? And Shankaracharya gives a very interesting answer. He says, why are you asking? Why are you asking? Then the answer is that the question was, who is in ignorance, who gets knowledge? That's the question. Shankaracharya says, why are you asking? Because I don't know, I want to know. If you don't know, you are in ignorance. Yeah, then you are in ignorance. Then who am I? Yes, come to this. Who am I? I'm explaining this to you. It seems paradoxical. And in fact, this is the mark that there is something wrong here. Not in the philosophy. It is Maya. And this is a sign of error, that if you logically probe it at one place, you will come to fault lines. In fact, all these philosophers, Nagarjuna for example, even Shankaracharya also, you examine the world logically, you will come to endless logical inconsistencies. They are known by Kant, they can't call them antinomies of reason. You push it, even the question of, an example, small example I'll give. Relation, father and son, guru shishya, knower and known, A and B. Relation always presupposes two terms, A and B, guru and shishya, suppose, father and son, or knower and known. Okay? Relation between two terms. So here is A, one term, B is another term, R is the relation between them. Okay?
Okay.
Now, when this is posed, Shankaracharya raises the question, is this real? Yes. This is real? Yes. Is the relation real? Yes. In some sense, relation also is real. Then if these are two terms, then what is the relation between them? What is the relation between A and R? What is the relation between R and B? You will again have to posit one more relation here.
The relationship between A and R. I would say R is what you call the link between A and B. It is not a third object. A is an object, B is an object, R is what you call the link between the object.
Isn't it? If this is one entity, these are two entities, there is a relation between them.
Yes, they're objects.
Then what is the relation between this entity and the relation itself? You have
father and son. But generally speaking, the identity of A could be father, dad, or father, male, elderly, I don't know, it depends if it's older or not, but these are identities of A. Son would be young, man, or son, or not son, but it could be a businessman too. But you don't say father and businessman. That's not a relationship that you can connect it to. You can say father and son. That is the relationship link between the two. You can say A is the businessman and B is the co-businessman, and that would be the relationship, the link. There's no, that link itself is what's connecting the two. There's not a to R, in my opinion.
to posit one more relation here. Same problem will come here. And you end up with a regression. With a regression, regresses ad infinitum. It's a kind of logical inconsistency.
So, I mean, again, I'm trying to answer as best as I can, and I'm not sure where he's getting at with that. There's not a link between the object and the relationship. The relationship is what links the two objects together. And it's not an actual object that you can see, or it's not necessarily tangible. But it is the defining factor between the relationships of two objects or two things. Well, I don't know. I was trying to find an example here, but okay, yeah, actually. Well, actually, I don't really have one. Sorry. So, oh, actually, I guess right here. So, a pen and a paper. The relationship between them is It's the fact that this is a writing utensil, this is the utensil to be written, and that's the relationship between them. A writing utensil and the thing to be written with. Written on, actually. I don't know, that's probably a terrible example. The father and son is a good example. I talked too much, let's keep going.
So this can be argued about, but what they are saying is, this is a sign that there is some kind of problem with our view of the world.
I wish
There's
I could
some
ask him that
inconsistencies
question.
you come up. When you probe deeply enough, you come up with inconsistencies. Western philosophers also, Bradley, the book Appearance and Reality, Kant also, they all come up with this. And in our ancient times, Shankaracharya, Nagarjuna, the Buddhist, Shunyavadi, Sri Harsha, the great Advaitin, they all come up with these ideas that if you probe deeply enough, it turns out to be very inconsistent. There are deep inconsistencies in the world. And that shows that we do not understand something fundamental about the world.
That's
in any theory in science also, if you come up with several inconsistencies, fundamental inconsistencies, it means something more fundamental is there to be discovered. You have not yet come to a complete understanding. Okay, so these are the karikas in explanation of the Mandukya Upanishad mantra number 7. I have spoken enough, nearly 1 hour, more than 1 hour. We'll conclude here. I'll take questions if you have patience. Yeah, questions. Yeah, there's a question.
So real quick while he's doing that,
Need the mic?
Okay. Sorry. So basic. Yeah. Oh, well, actually, he's gonna have the mic. Freaking sorry.
In the dream state. Yeah.
In the dream state, we experience a sort of helplessness that we are the witness of the dream.
Yeah.
We don't create the dream as such, because whatever is there, we see it.
True.
Because we don't get usually, other than we don't get.
Can't hear.
Lucid dreaming, you don't get what is called lucid dreaming. That means you don't generate the dream. It's not like a movie which you're directing. It's not like that. So it's given to you.
That way we have an experience of somebody who is showing us a dream.
Yeah.
So that doesn't come into all these things. It is said here that you have to see that you illumine the dream. So what does that to understand that?
Because you experience the dream, isn't it? Just as you're experiencing this, you experience the dream. I'll give you the logic here. Instead of looking at the things experienced, look at the experiencer. Instead of looking at that side, look at this side of the equation. Look at it this way. You are now looking at this Swami. Now you look at the table. Now you look at the wall. There are 3 objects you see one after another. Your consciousness plus this name and form is your experience of this Swami. Your consciousness plus this table name and form is your experience of the table. Through your consciousness.
I was looking away because I was really thinking about what he's saying. I think I didn't understand what I mean by you are one with all, but maybe this is what he's trying to explain right here. I think I was understanding it, but it didn't have that weird glitch. Let's keep going.
Plus this wall name and form is your experience of the wall. Table, Swami, wall, they are different from each other. But what continues through all these experiences of yours is your consciousness. The objects are different, and that is happening throughout the day, isn't it? Throughout the day, a consciousness is continuously illumining different objects, giving you experience of the objects. Normally what do? We focus on the object. Here is Swami, here is the table, here is the wall, here is Sukha, here is Dukkha. But in all of them, one consciousness is flowing through that. The objects keep changing, the consciousness does not change. You say, now I have one thought, now I have a different thought. How is it not changing? The thoughts have changed, the contents of the thoughts have changed, but the light, the consciousness which illumines these thoughts has not changed. This is what they are saying. Next, extend it to the dream. The waking state completely goes away. You are in deep sleep, or you go to sleep, you forget that you are on a bed and under a mosquito net and sleeping. But what is your subjective experience? Many things are happening. You don't even know it's a dream. People are there, animals and birds and buildings are there. You are also there in a body there, in the dream. Now those objects are changing. But that consciousness, the same consciousness which was till now watching the waking state, is watching the dream state also. After some time, everything stops. There's blankness. Neither these objects, nor the dream objects, nothing. That, including your mind, even the thought, I am somebody, that also disappears. And that blankness is illumined by that consciousness. This continuous consciousness throughout is what they are pointing to. That is illumining all experiences.
Again, I get that. I do get that, but it's. I guess the question in my mind is, how do we illuminate the illuminator? How do we illuminate the Turiya? And I guess that might be the question that I have. I understand the sleeper, the dreamer, and the awake state. Oh, the waker, dreamer, and sleeper, and the Turiya. But trying to link them together is where I'm struggling with a little bit. Or understanding the illumination of the Turiya itself, because I understand that it illuminates all of them, which easy to understand. We do that every day. You go to sleep, you have a dream, the Turiya is illuminating the dream, Turiya is illuminating the wakened state, the Turiya is illuminating the sleeper blankness, deep sleep, even though there's nothing to illuminate. That's always, the third one always throws me off, because it's just like pointless, but at the same time it needs to be there, because it's literally the nothingness. It's so. Let's continue on.
In deep sleep, according to Advaita Vedanta, mind is in a potential state. Body, mind, everything is in a potential state from your point of view, not from the objective point of view. Objective point of view, the person, the fellow is sleeping on the bed under a mosquito net and snoring maybe. But from the person's point of view, it's just a blankness. And mind is in a potential form from Advaita Vedanta point of view. From Patanjali Yoga point of view, deep sleep is also one other vritti of the mind. Mind has several vrittis. So deep sleep is also taken as a vritti of the mind. So mind is very much there in deep sleep for yoga, Patanjali Yoga philosophy. Advaita Vedanta does not say that. In Advaita Vedanta, only ignorance, the pragya, only consciousness plus ignorance is deep sleep.
Because if ignorance is there, if pure consciousness cannot have ignorance, then
No.
something has been.
So you have to. So they Advaita Vedanta speaks about a karana sharira, which is ignorance itself. You can say that the mind, the ignorance aspect of the mind alone is there. You can say that. Yeah, one. Go ahead.
From all this analysis, it seems that Ishvara doesn't come into anywhere. Even Swami written a book, Enlightenment Without God. So does this, it takes us towards sort of getting away from the God?
Let me tell you, in Advaita Vedanta, you see, we have not done the 6th mantra. We have gone straight to the 7th mantra. In the 6th mantra, it says, in deep sleep, you are this pragya associated with your blankness, ignorance. That's what we experience. In deep sleep, I am pragya with blankness, nothing else. This is individually. Now it says, you think about the totality of all beings. Consciousness, Chaitanyam, this consciousness, with total ignorance, ignorance of all beings. It is called Ishvara. In fact, the word Ishvara is used in the 6th mantra. What is this? This is the Turiyam. Plus, this is Maya.
I know some of you actually requested the Maya video. I have it, but since it's linked with this thing, it's kind of me curious.
The consciousness with the power of Maya is called Ishvara. Consciousness with the power of Maya is called Ishvara in Vedanta. Pure consciousness without the power of Maya, without reference to it, if you see pure consciousness, here Ishvara and you are one and the same. Ishvara is called Tat, you are called Tvam, so Tat Tvamasi. You are that. You know what Tat refers to here? Ishvara. You know what Tvam refers to here? You. Now, if you say you are Ishvara, it does not make any sense. How can I be Ishvara? I am not Ishvara from the point of view of the waker or the dreamer, as an individual body and mind. I am not Ishvara. Certainly not. I am an ordinary being. I have no idea who is Ishvara. But if you disregard the bodies and minds, if you take the consciousness alone, it is the same being. That same consciousness with the power of Maya creates this entire universe is called Ishvara in our religion. The same consciousness, if you take the individual Karana Sharira and individual Sukshma Sharira, is called one Jiva. If you disregard these are called upadhis. If you disregard these upadhis, take the consciousness itself, you and Ishvara are abheda, one and the same.
He's going above
This
what
is the meaning of
He's going above what I've learned, so I'm going to be lost in these parts.
Tattvamasi.
Don't try to explain it either. Just give me a video on it, because unless there's a full explanation on it, it's going to be a bit difficult for me to grasp.
You are that. This is the meaning of the Mahavakya in the Upanishads. Tattvamasi, you are that. Aham Brahmasmi. Aham Brahmasmi in what sense? Aham, I the individual, Brahman, Saguna Brahman, there is a whole technique he knows, Lakshana is taken, and it comes to the pure consciousness. This pure consciousness is the essence of God, is the essence of you. One Sufi poet put it very beautifully. Advaita Vedanta, but the Sufi poet says, from an Islamic point of view, such a wonderful thing he says. He says, when I searched for Allah, I found only myself. When I searched for myself, who am I found Allah. So beautifully it is stated. When I searched for who am I found Allah, God. When I searched for God, I found no God, I found myself only. Both ways it's leading to this thing, Turiya. Any other question? Yeah. Yeah, it's coming, huh?
They say that the universe is made up of Akash and Prana. So where does this Turiya fit into that?
Yes. Universe made of Akash and Prana, or the universe made of so many hundred and certain number of elements, or particles, or strings, or whatever. All that is nothing but an appearance of Turiya. And I am not saying it just like that. The Upanishad says it. In Taittiriya Upanishad it is said, Tasmad va etasmad atmanaha akasha sambhuta. From this Atma, Akasha was projected. Akashad vayu, vayu ragni, ragni rapa, adbhya prithvi. So he says, the Upanishad says, from this Atma, Akasha was projected. Projected means what? From Atma to Akasha, how does it come? It is Atma alone misunderstood, error, as Akasha. And from Akasha, Vayu, Agni, the Jal, Prithvi, and the combination of this world. So in modern science you might say various particles, or you might say superstrings or whatever. So it is the Atma alone appearing in all these forms. And a very interesting article has been written. This one, Ram Subramaniam, he is a professor of physics in IIT Mumbai. Ram Subramaniam. He has written an article with another researcher, concept of Akasha in Indian philosophies and modern science, space. So very interesting article. He has considered various aspects. But the basic idea is, you yourself, the consciousness, you are appearing in all these forms. Let me give you an example. If I keep a mirror here, what will you see in the mirror? You will see all these young boys and girls and the gentlemen, ladies sitting here. You will see the tables, chairs, fan, light, everything. You will see the whole room reflected in this mirror. But actually, what is there in the mirror? There are no human beings, no table, light, chair, fan, nothing. What is there in the mirror is just glass. That glass is appearing in all these forms. Now you might say, because it's out there, it's being reflected. Forget that aspect. Just take the glass. Or you take the computer monitor. Inside that you can see so many things. Whatever you want, you can see in there. But actually, what is there? There is no cars, roads, people, stars and planets. Nothing is there in that. It's just glass. It's just a monitor, TV screen. Similarly, in pure consciousness, all this is projected. Swami Vivekananda puts it very poetically. Is a song of the Sannyasin. He says, one alone exists. In him is Maya dreaming this dream. One alone exists. In him, in Turiya, is Maya dreaming this dream. Dream of what? Bodies, mind, samsara, janma, mrityu, sukha, dukkha, everything. But actually, it's realized as one reality.
And sir, what is the use of all what does a yogi seek basically?
If you say what is the use, the use is in fact the greatest possible use. What anybody is seeking, we are seeking only two things.
Truth?
We are seeking overcoming of suffering and getting bliss, anandam, happiness.
Oh, wow.
In life, that's all we are trying to do. Not only human beings, even an animal. is trying to seek happiness and overcome sorrow or suffering. And all of us, in all that we do, our highest research to the most erudite scholar, professor in his laboratory, to a beggar on the street, all of them are simply trying to avoid unhappiness and trying to get happiness. The objects in which we put our efforts are refined or gross. Now, what Vedanta tells you, what is the goal? The first question they ask, what is the use of all this? Prayojanam. Kim prayojanam? What is the use? They say use is atyantika dukkha nivritti paramananda praptischa. Complete cessation of sorrow and attainment of bliss. That is the goal. There can be no higher goal. There can be no higher goal. Yeah. We'll take. Let me finish this. Yeah.
Sir, but Swami also said that everything comes in circles.
Yeah.
So if I am happy at the moment, I will be sad some other time.
Yeah.
So how can I get permanent happiness?
Yeah. Permanent happiness is not the happiness of the waker. The happiness of the waker is the happiness in the mind. What we talked about, मैं बहुत दुखी हूँ, तुम अपने दुख को जानते हो, do you experience your misery? Then you are not miserable, you are the knower of the misery in your mind, right? So that sukha and dukkha, the happiness which comes and goes in the mind, that's what most people are chasing. When you realize the turiya, it is not that you will go around with a, like a permanent smiley. Not that. You'll go around with a big smile on your face. What happened? I've realized Turiyam. No. What happens is you transcend the mind, you realize yourself as something apart from the body and mind, the reality, which by nature is happiness, which by nature is joy. That is bliss. That's why they use the term bliss instead of sukha. That is beyond sukha and dukkha. You remember today in the morning we did that Nirvana Shatakam, Chidananda Rupa Shivoham. There he says, na saukhyam na dukkham, neither sukha nor dukkha. Okay. Then what? Chidananda. Then he uses the word ananda. I am ananda. And what it's the difference is like this. Experiencing sukha and being ananda. What's the difference? It's like I have a face and I see it in the mirror. When I see it in the mirror, it's my face is reflected in the mirror. Here what happens is, when our innate ananda is reflected in the mind, we get what is called sukha, and we chase that. That's what we normally understand as happiness. But when you realize yourself as turiyam, you are no longer dependent on the mind. It's like, I know that I have this face, I don't always need a mirror to keep on looking at my face. If the mirror goes away, my face is still there. If the mirror goes away, my face is still there. So you realize yourself as Ananda Swarupam. Swami Vivekananda puts it very beautifully when he says, what is the meaning of Satchidananda? It is not that the Atman exists, it is existence itself. It is not that the Atman knows, it is knowledge itself. It is not that the Atman is happy, it is happiness itself. And that takes some time to explain, but you can understand in these terms. Okay, I'll leave it at that. Question?
Yeah, please explain that.
Once the ignorance is removed, then the error goes off itself.
Yeah.
So, sir, now we have come to know that okay, we are not waking, we are not praying, we have the
Turiyam. Yeah.
So, is it that we have lost, we have, the ignorance has been removed?
No.
No. We have to gain some knowledge, but
Yeah.
exactly that knowledge is.
True. That is a good question. What do we know? What now you say that knowledge will remove ignorance, and when ignorance goes, error will go away. Now the question is, what knowledge? What knowledge? Isn't this knowledge? Yes. Advaita Vedanta says this is called paroksha jnana. Paroksha means indirect knowledge, not direct. So what is my direct knowledge? That I am this body and mind. What is the indirect knowledge? I have read in a book or heard in a lecture, I am not body and mind, I am something called pure consciousness within quotes. Now, the principle is, indirect knowledge can never cut away direct ignorance. It has to be direct knowledge. I must actually feel it so, otherwise it will not go away. It must come directly. How will that come? There is a process, they call it Shravana Manana Nididhyasana. Mananam, Shravanam, Mananam and Nididhyasanam. Shravanam, hearing, literally means hearing. Mananam, thinking, reasoning. Nididhyasanam, meditation. What happens? This is very rough way of putting it, but the precise meaning is this. I'll just tell you in one sentence each what is it. Shravanam is systematically listening to these truths or studying these truths, systematically. When is Shravanam complete? When is it successful? At the end of Shravanam, you must be able to claim that I have understood what they want to say. Okay. I have understood what they want to say. What the Swami was trying to teach, I have understood it. I have grasped it, Grahanam. I have grasped it, at least intellectually I have grasped what he is trying to say. That is the end of Shravanam. Isn't that enough? No, that is not enough. What will happen after this is, okay, I get it, what you are trying to say. I have studied it systematically, what the Upanishad is trying to say, I get it, but I don't believe it. I understand what you are saying, but I don't believe it. Why? There are so many doubts now. Unless you understand, there can be no doubts. If I simply don't get it, what is Turiya, what is Vishwa, all this is completely confusing, then Shravanam is to be repeated. You have to get it clear. Once it is clear, okay, they are saying that I am pure consciousness.
That's why I have to go back and watch the video multiple times, because I have to listen, I have to understand what he's saying before I start thinking about it. And so far, I think I've done the first and second. I do a lot of the second, I do a lot of the first, but I don't know if I ever meditated on about it. I mean, deep thinking, I don't know if that's meditation.
Well, I don't buy it. I don't believe it. Why don't you buy it? Why don't you believe it? Take up your doubts one by one. And those doubts are to be cleared away at this stage called Mananam.
And that's why I say I always, whenever I think about something, I think about solution, I attack it. Meaning that I have to make sure that it is sound, that every question I throw at it, it can be answered. Otherwise, it's not a very good thought.
And there are whole books devoted to this. Every possible question you can imagine, and though many which you cannot imagine also, they have been asked. And they have been answered. I mean, I still have not faced a question which I have not been able to think out to my satisfaction at least. So, Mananam. At the end of Mananam, how do you know Mananam is over? At the end of Mananam, you will say,
have no doubt.
I am convinced, I believe it. At the end of Shravanam, I get it, what you are trying to say. At the end, but the doubt is, I don't believe it. At the end of Mananam, okay, it's possible. I think this is true. I think this is true. I believe it is true. But again, what is the problem? I don't feel it. I still feel I am this body and mind. I don't feel it. It's not a living reality. It's something that I've understood and I believe it. But I don't feel it yet. It's not living for me. If somebody pierces my hand, pinches me, I say, oh, it hurts. Now, this truth which you have understood and now you're convinced, you have to drive it deep within you through meditation. Swami Vivekananda says, tell yourself again and again, I am He, Soham, until the truth tingles with every drop of your blood. You're convinced about it. If you start here, it will not work. It will be brainwashing only. You first have to study it properly. You have to understand what this is.
Yes, if you skip steps 1 and 2, that is in fact brainwashing, yes.
Work it out logically.
And that's, I talked about this, about how Buddha convinced a murderer to become one of his sage, basically. I believe that's the video. How he just given up on his belief so easily. That's the reason why I kind of had like, I think if you watch it, you'll see that it's very odd that he just converted so easily. Like, because if you talk to someone and they say, okay, I believe it, I'm like, what? You didn't have to think about it or anything? He's like, no, I believe it. This points out a few things to me. One, he doesn't think for himself, or whoever that person is doesn't think for themselves. Two, they don't give much thought to what they believe, so they easily convert one way or another, just really easily. So they not only do they believe in whatever they've been told, they don't think about what they've been told, because they easily convert whatever they believe to whatever the current one is. And I don't trust them to believe in what they say they believe, because they've given it no thought.
So at least you personally have no more doubts about it. Raise every possible question. And then you have no more doubts. Then you drive it deep. If you are not convinced, simply repeating it will not help. It will not be helpful. Then at the end of this process comes an intuitive grasp.
We're almost done, and it's
Yes.
over an hour long.
Till now I was thinking I'm this individual, separate individual from all, but now I realize the screen. I realize myself as consciousness in which all this is shining. One unbroken, unchanging consciousness. That is Turiyam, the fourth. Okay, and one more question, then we'll stop. We can carry this outside the hall because it's already late.
Yes, it is. Even for me, it's late.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Brain is a hardware, mind is a software.
Okay, you can look at it that way. Actually, in Vedanta, they say the mind is independent of the brain. When they say Jivatma, you say Punarjanma and all that. So consciousness plus the mind goes from body to body. So when the body goes, the brain also goes with it. So unless the mind is in some sense independent of the brain, it cannot go from one body to another. So Punarjanma won't be possible. Anyhow, but that does not affect this discussion.
Wait. He was saying the mind or the consciousness separate from the brain. That I can understand a little bit more. That's what I'm more thinking towards. But without him explaining that, I have to think for it for myself to try to analyze it myself and understand it, on top of trying to understand what he's trying to point out as well.
Mind is an entity, a material entity.
Yeah,
it may be a
physical.
subtle material entity, but it's a material entity. Now see, the problem here is ignorance. Where is ignorance? Ignorance cannot be in my thumb. Any knowledge and any ignorance must be in the mind only. See, the Turiya is perfect. Just now itself Turiya is perfect. You are perfect as it is. But the problem is you don't know it, and this don't know is called ignorance. Where is this ignorance? In your mind. Now where does knowledge have to come? Knowledge can come only in one place. It cannot come in my thumb, or it cannot come in the air. It can come in the mind only. And the principle is, where there is ignorance, there knowledge must come. About which there is ignorance, about that knowledge must come. Two principles. The ashraya and the vishaya of ajnana and jnana must be same. The ashraya and vishaya of jnana and ajnana must be same.
I'm sorry, I'm not understanding that part, but I want to go back to where ignorance and knowledge. So basically, the only place like knowledge can exist is where ignorance can exist, because if there's ignorance somewhere, knowledge can be obtained. If there's knowledge somewhere, that means ignorance can exist. That's how I'm picking that up.
For jnana to destroy ajnana.
Because without one, there is no other. If there is no ignorance, there is no knowledge. Or is there complete knowledge? Or it could be complete knowledge or no knowledge. Complete knowledge would be completely gone of ignorance, but ignorance did in fact exist.
What does that mean? Ashraya means where there is ignorance. There only knowledge must come. So my guru's jnana cannot destroy my ajnana, because ignorance is here. And Gaudapada Acharya or Shankaracharya's jnana cannot destroy my ajnana. Jnana must come here itself. Then only it will destroy my ajnana. It is in the mind, it's not in Turiya. Now, the second point, the Vishaya also must be same. I have ajnana about physics. If I learn biology, my ajnana about physics will not be destroyed, because the Vishaya of that ajnana is physics. So I must get knowledge about physics. The Vishaya of the jnana and ajnana must be same, they must coincide. So the Vishaya of the ajnana here is myself. Who am I? I don't know myself. So I need knowledge about myself. That will destroy the ignorance about myself. And both of this must come in the mind only. Ignorance is in the mind, knowledge must also come in the mind. There the ignorance is removed. The problem is now, it's like your grandfather has left you 1 crore rupees. So you are crorepati. But if somebody asks you, why are you begging for money? It is true that my grandfather left me 1 crore rupees, but which bank it is in, where is the passbook, I don't know anything. So you are crorepati, but you have to beg. Similarly, you are Turiya, you are beyond samsara, no dukkha can touch you, but you are miserable samsari. I feel horrible, I am suffering from day to day. Even if I am Turiya, it's not available to me because it's clouded by my ignorance. I don't know it. That's all.
They say that any type of intellectual arguments
Yeah.
So in that case, they automatically ask you to sit in meditation for long hours, or depending upon the
True, true.
school of Buddhism.
Yeah.
So is it a shortcut to the meditation which you are talking about?
Huh. In Vedanta, the position is this. A good question. In in Hindu philosophy also, the yogis say this. When you study all this, yogis say you are just distracting your mind. Distracting. Don't distract. Calm down your mind, sit quietly, you will get realization. Don't read so many books or attend lectures. That's the same philosophy what you are saying. But in Buddhism there are other schools. There is the Madhyamika school, the Tibetan Buddhists. For the Madhyamika school, the entire thing is based on reasoning. Now, Advaita Vedanta, what it tells you is Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. Hear these truths, grasp them, reason, then meditate upon it. What
I actually like that, actually.
Advaita Vedanta discourages you, simply sit quietly. That will not help. Just as in common sense, I want to master mechanical engineering or something. Now I'll say, okay, I'll sit quietly. Won't help.
No.
Won't help. You'll be in trouble, deep trouble within a few days.
I was just thinking brain surgeon. I will become a brain surgeon. Let me just sit there and meditate. That's now, mind you, learning about yourself, meditation can in fact help, but learning about something, about doing something, that's a different story.
So you have to get back. One Swami put it very beautifully. He said, no, the Buddhists say, no, one intuitive feeling will come. So one Swami put it very beautifully. He said, we don't believe in intuition, we believe in tuition. Yes. So in Vedanta, meditation is important, very important. But you grasp the truth, be convinced about it, then stay there. That staying meditation, at that level, meditation is helpful. Then you stop reading books and the truth which you have grasped, try to assimilate it by staying in that truth. That I am the Turiyam. I have understood it, I believe it, now let me feel it. Their meditation is helpful. It's called Nididhyasanam. That is the approach of Advaita Vedanta. But in Hinduism, Patanjali Yoga will say, no, what you said is correct. It will sit only quietly in meditation. Okay, we'll just leave it here. Should we wrap up now? It's 8 o'clock. Thank you very much. I had a wonderful time here, and I hope.
Thank you as well. You made me think about a lot of things. An interesting concept for sure. I will say that first. Again, like, obviously I have doubts, and I love the fact that he accepts that. You know, you should definitely doubt a lot of things in life. You shouldn't automatically accept things to be true. Again, that's the reason why the Buddha video that I had, where that dude just accepted the fact that, like, I mean, he just, his mind changed so quickly. It's like, I don't know, you know. I question people who change their mind so quickly. They're just a questionable folks, I guess. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are some people who can potentially change and realize quickly, but I'd put heavy doubts on them versus a person who has thought about it and then comes and says, like, okay, I realize my mistake because I have thought about it. I always question people, okay, why? And if their answer given to me was very reasonable, then I can believe that they've changed. And I don't accept people who just change because I've said something or someone said something or they've heard someone say something. That is a big question. That is a big doubt on them for me. Anyways, that's my reaction to this because I went way over of Who Am I Part 2 of Part 2 for me, I do believe. And I can't wait to get to other of his videos along with other videos of Osho, Sadhguru, and more Swami videos and other wisdom people. If you like my content, please consider subscribing. Thumbs up, thumbs down below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next vid.